Hi, I'm Lee Arbuckle, Native Seedsters, Inc. Worked at developing this technology to harvest native seeds. I'm delighted to be able today to present Mark Majerus, who's headed up 2 studies we've done of the harvestability of native grasses and of the harvestability of native wildflower seeds. Mark's done a spectacular piece of work on a subject that's not been addressed before. Mark, it's been a pleasure. Thanks. Looking forward to it today.
Native grasses are the preferred grass over introduced species in a lot of the conservation practice throughout the United States. But the scarcity of seed and the high prices of seed are often related to the harvest efficiency of standard combine harvest. So many of the seed producers are looking for alternate harvest systems where they can improve upon the harvest efficiency with most of these native grasses. Harvestability indexes were developed on native grasses, 195 different native grasses throughout the United States and southern Canada, to further document the efficiency of the combine and hopefully to show that the seedster is a potential alternative harvest method for many of these native species. Native grasses are, once again, like wildflowers, controlled through the seed certification agencies of individual states. Used historically released as cultivars, but more recently are being released as pre-varietal releases, which take a little bit less time and get them on the market much sooner. Most of the seed in the northern latitudes are swathed, allowed to cure in the windrow, and then combined from a cured dry windrow. And in the north and primarily in the south, a lot of the seed is direct cut. There are a couple other and also on the direct cut combine, there is several seed growers that are using a shell-borne header, which is basically a stripper, fairly aggressive stripper header that feeds the material into a regular combine. There are single brush strippers, the Woodward Flailvac out of Oklahoma and the Prairie Habitat out of Canada. But we are comparing the efficiency of these other methods with that of the native seedster with the patented counter-rotating brush and comb. We hope to, from this native development of the harvestability index, prove that we're in the ball game with these other harvesting methods. The study looked at 195 of the primary commercially produced or wildland collected species in the U.S. and Canada. The project was funded by the Montana Board of Research and Commercialization Technology for the Department of Commerce, Montana. We looked at 9 different morphological and physiological characteristics and how they affected harvestability. We looked at different local flora books, websites for different seed production companies, and consulted with professional seed producers, botanists, and collectors to get information on documenting these 9 different morphological characteristics. These characteristics then were ranked as to whether they had a favorable impact or a limiting impact on harvest efficiency. And the result was a harvestability index for the combine and a harvestability index for the native seedster harvester. The first characteristic looked at is plant height. Anything that is extremely tall, taller than 3 feet, has a slight advantage to the seedster because the seedster is able to go through, strip off the seed without taking in a lot of biomass. With tall species that are combined, often cases half of the material has to go through the combine, and with that extra biomass, it's difficult to glean all of the seed away from the straw and chaff. As you get to you can see that mid height, both the combine and the seedster can readily harvest. As you get to the short and the very short, makes it difficult for to put the header down far enough to be able to get it in. And with a very short, anything less than a foot, is very difficult with a seedster because of the placement of the combing drum limits how close you can get to the ground. So the very short are limited by both pieces of equipment. The type of inflorescence has not too much impact whatsoever, whether it's a spike, raceme. However, on a tight raceme like the cordgrasses, they're difficult for the brush of the seedster to dislodge, where it needs the cylinder of the combine to grind that seed out of the inflorescence. Then there's the panicles, whether they're narrow, open, or diffuse. Very similar, but with the diffuse panicle, the secondary and tertiary branchlets are often very fragile, and with the brush of the seedster, we do get some stem breakage, inflorescence breakage with the diffuse panicle. The position of the inflorescence is fairly important. Something like rough fescue, where the seed is well above any forage, is quite easily harvested no matter what technique you use, or with their terminal, meaning they're right at the very top of the plant. Once again, does not impact the harvesting with either method. However, if the seed, as in the case of buffalo grass, where this is the male flower here and the female flower here where it produces a seed, is down in the foliage, you have to take in all of the foliage to get it through the combine, and the foliage kind of buffers the effect of the impact of the brush with the seedster, so it has a negative effect on the harvest efficiency. Also, like foliage density, whether it's a sparse density or it's all basal, leaves the seed heads fairly exposed and fairly easy to harvest. However, when you get into the thick stand like the switchgrass here, a lot of biomass has to go through the combine, and there is a lot of biomass which once again buffers the impact of the brush. And if you're going to do multiple harvests, may create a problem where you will create tracks with the tractor, where you knock some of it down, and when you return, you do not have 100% of the stand exposed to harvest it a second time. Tendency to shatter is one of those characteristics that we rely on the intuition of seed growers and seed collections. They tend to shatter quite differently. Anything that does not have a tendency to shatter, like the prairie cordgrass, once again, it requires the grinding effect of the combine to knock it out of the seed head, whereas the seedster brush is not aggressive enough to knock all of this seed loose. But if there's a slight chance of shatter, as in Canada wild rye, both of them can readily reharvest it. And you get to a moderate amount of shattering. The seedster has a slight advantage where it will be able to pull that stuff in, whereas the combine header may result in some loss to shatter. But when you get into species that shatter very readily, or in this case of bottlebrush squirreltail, extreme shatter, where the whole rachis, what they call disarticulating rachis, where just the seed head just falls apart once it's mature. And so if you have a severe shattering, this has a negative effect on the harvesting efficiency of both pieces of equipment. Flowering and ripening, the grasses tend to mature a little bit more uniformly than do wildflowers, but there are still some species that take longer than 10 days to mature. For example, the green needlegrass matures over a long period of time. You can see in here the dark spots. Seed is already shattered here, but seed on the lower part of the head is continuing to ripen. So anything that ripens over a long period of time lends itself to multiple harvests with a seedster. And you can see that the things that mature over a long period of time, the seedster has a plus 10 benefit, whereas a combine has minus 10, because once again, when you harvest something with a combine, it's a one-shot deal. You get only the seed that is mature at that particular time, and you have lost some to shatter and you've lost some to immaturity. So anything with a long extended period of ripening lends itself to multiple harvests with a seedster. Seed size has really not much effect on harvestability efficiency, with the exception of extremely small seed can leak through cracks in the combine, or it can get carried out on the trash over the sieves and the straw walkers. And on the other end, large seed can be lost to the seedster if it shatters immediately upon contact with the brush and is not carried into the header as rapidly as it would be with combine. Seed shape has no negative effect on harvestability and varies little between different shapes, and varies very little between combine or seedster, whether it's elongated, whether it's ellipsoid or ovoid, or in the case of buffalo grass where it's irregular. Slight advantage here to the seedster because of the irregularity and the brush being able to grab onto things like that and pull it into the machine. The big positive impact for the seedster is seed appendages, and the largest negative effect for the combine is seed appendages. If you have awns, whether they're just tipped longer, 2 times longer, 3 times longer, 4 more times longer, pubescence or hairiness, callus hairs, and then you can have a situation like the blue grama where you have an attached sterile floret, and in the case of multiples with a little blue stem, you have a long awn, you've got a hairy racilla, which is basically the stem to the next seed. You've got a attached sterile floret, and you've got callus hairs, so you got the whole works. So anytime as you get fluffier and more appendages, there's more of a negative effect on the efficiency of the combine. As you get more and more longer awns and more hairs, there's more of a positive effect on the efficiency of the seedster. In the case of the 195 species of grasses, 63% of them have some form of an appendage, whether it be an awn or hairs or attached sterile floret. With the species that have no attachment whatsoever, the combine has a little bit more of an advantage because it's able to move it through the machine and more efficiently glean the seed away from the chaff. The harvestability indexes for the grasses ranged from 5 to 140. We arbitrarily grouped these into categories. Anything less than 55 was considered difficult. Anything from 60 to 100 was considered moderate harvestability, and anything over 100 was considered easy to harvest. Comparing the indexes for the combine versus a seedster, difficult for the combine 16%, 51% moderate, and 33% easy. For the seedster, 7% difficult, 58% moderate, 35% easy. So the easy and the moderate are quite comparable with both of these pieces of equipment. Once again, with the comparing the difficult, this is primarily the very, very short species, and these are a combination of the short and possibly having major appendages that affect the efficiency of the combine. Comparing some of the indexes, the rough bent grass and the spiked trisedum have awns that stick out and that the seedster can grab on, so the seedster has an advantage with the rough bent grass and the spiked trisedum. The combine has a slight advantage with the Alpine Timothy because of the compact seed head needing a little extra threshing to knock the seed out. Get into the Poaceae tribe, the Idaho fescue and the tufted hairgrass. They mature over a long period of time and have awns that give the advantage to the seedster. The Sandberg has a slight advantage with the combine because of the smooth, elongated seed. In the Stipe tribe, you notice that every one of these have a seedster advantage, and that is because of the long curly awn in the case of these two needle grasses, a three-pieced awn on the three awn, and long hairs on the giant ricegrass. So anything that has major appendages, you can see that the seedster index is much higher than the combine index. Also in the Tridaceae tribe, we have awns again. The blue wild rye has awns. These, both the blue bunch and the bottle bush have divergent awns which stick out and make them more readily grabbed onto by the brush. And then you can notice that both of these are fairly low. Once again, that's a real short species, making it difficult to get after with either one of the equipments, but the seedster has a definite advantage on that one. On the Panaceae tribe, these are species that have diffuse panicles and have rounded ovoid slick seed and have a slight advantage. Well, it's exactly the same on the combine and the seedster with the switchgrass, but on the Paspalum, a slight advantage because of the no appendages on it. Then you get to the Andropodeae family. Once again, you'll see that the seedster has the advantage on all of these. These not only have the long awns, but they have the hairy racilla and the attached sterile florets. So all of these extra appendages make it difficult to glean through the combine and make it much easier to pull into the seedster. In summary, of these 195 species, the seedster was found to have a higher index on 55% of the species, and the seedster has an advantage on anything that had a ripening period of greater than 7 to 10 days because it offers the opportunity for multiple harvests. But with the multiple harvests, you must have your row spacing to conform with the row, the spacing of the tires on the tractor which the seedster is mounted. Also, anytime you have appendages of awns, hairs, sterile florets, they are very difficult to glean through the combine. In some cases with the stipas, almost impossible to harvest with the combine, but they make it much easier to be pulled into the seedster header. The combine does have an advantage on anything that is strongly attached in the inflorescence or has a tough inflorescence like the cord grasses. Any inflorescence that requires an additional threshing with the action of the cylinder and the concave. And the combine and the seedster both had an disadvantage when the plant had a very short stature or had a relative strong or extreme tendency to shatter. The harvestability index spreadsheets for the 195 native grasses and for the 388 wildflowers. These harvestability indexes are posted on the Native Seedster website at nativeseedster.com.